And I'm not saying that everybody needs to go out and shout out their business from the rooftops. It just ended up setting me free, but it's mainly because I want it to be as transparent as possible
Mhm.
because I want to start a movement of just being honest.
Hello, amazing humans, and welcome to episode number 289 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was on Polo with my close girlfriends. There's the Polo app we're on 24/7 because we love each other so much. And I'd realized that while we were sharing so many amazing tips and tricks about working out, how we should work out as we age, what supplements we're taking, menopause, what we're eating, how we're sleeping, why, what's happening, my aura ring, pick a thing. We were talking about it. And I was like, hold on a second. I'm the money lady. I'm the abundance lady. And we're not talking about money. Why are we not talking about money? Why do we not know how much interest we're all paying on our mortgages? Why are we not sharing maybe our credit scores or how much money we save or why we save that much? And do we max out the Roth IRA? Do we not? Why? And, it was such a powerful conversation. And to my girlfriend's credit, shout out to you guys. You know who you are. Here's your credit. It's like massive shout out of credit to them because they jumped into the conversation and they jumped in fast. And I wanted to share that with you and bring this content to you in today's episode because it's so important that we, as friends, as women, especially, right, that we talk about how we use this most powerful tool we have access to. We're talking about everything else. Why would we not talk about this? And I'm also going to assert that the fact that we don't talk about it gets a lot of us in trouble because we think we're the only person going through something, or we don't want to tell people maybe we can't afford to go to dinner that night, or, we just bought a new couch. And so we're pulling back on other things. Pick a topic, right? When we could actually share those with our friends and have them support us. What would it be like if your friends are like, no, we're not going to go to the expensive dinners. Remember, she's saving for that trip. And now we're all, in this together. And I think it's so important. And today's guest, Michelle Campbell, has such an extraordinary story about her financial trauma and what she went through, what she learned from it. We are talking repossessions. We are talking evictions. We are talking $500,000 in debt. We are talking serious financial trauma and what she learned from it. One, how she got through it. You're going to need to know that, right? But also what she's learned from it and how she's decided to use this experience to dedicate her life to making sure other people understand what she did not. Michelle Campbell was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, and began her educational journey in South Dakota before relocating to Atlanta, Georgia to continue her studies. During her academic pursuits, she launched a real estate investment firm, marking the beginning of her entrepreneurial path. She's also the author of Bluebird, a memoir that candidly explores the themes of trauma, heartbreak, and resilience found in life's struggles. She's also the founder of a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering individuals through financial literacy and fostering economic stability. So I know that finances can be a topic we get nervous around, or we feel like we're already supposed to know. We're going to let that go for this episode, okay? I'm going to really invite you to drop that, to drop the idea you're supposed to have this all figured out. None of us do. We're all learning all the time. And the best way for all of us to learn more is to talk about it. You are going to love Michelle. You're going to love her cause. You're going to love this story. I mean, I literally, listening to her stories, was like, oh my gosh, what this woman has been through and what she has turned it into. You want to talk about alchemy. So if you are going through a hard time right now, if you are like, dear heavens, I can't see my way out of this episode's going to make a difference for you. You're going to listen to what it's like to really go through that from someone else's perspective. We're going to talk about the veil of ignorance, all the things that could happen that we don't know about yet. And most beautifully, how everything that happens in your life is a lesson for you, but it's also another little tool in your toolbox into having you live your life's purpose. So without further ado, pop in those earphones and let's get to it. Michelle, welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Boy, this conversation is so exciting to me. I'm dying. I'm like having to stay seated. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited too. I've been looking forward to it all week.
Oh, so good. So good. We're so lucky we get to have these conversations. I just feel so blessed. So, all right, amazing, Michelle. We are going to talk all things financial literacy, understanding its role in everyone's world and how this kind of combines all of us, but also keeps us so separate, I think, at times.
Right.
But before we jump into that, we all got to know. We have to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Out of all the things, I mean, your path in life could have taken you down so many paths. I mean, so many. Why do you believe this is the thing that you want to use your life doing? Why is this what you're doing here on planet Earth with us?
I truly believe that I am doing what I was ordained to do. I am living the epitome of living in my purpose. It
Mm,
never made sense before. If you would have told me this, that I would be here and doing this type of work 20 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it.
mm,
But what I found was going through everything that I went through over those last 21 years, all combinedly led me to what I'm doing today. And it like just blew my mind when I put that together. I know for a fact that nothing happens just because,
mm,
everything happens for a reason. And we typically skip over the what is going on and not ask the why is this
mm,
happening. And so when I began to ask the why is this happening instead of the what, then that changed my whole mindset about why I was going through something. And then hence, for instance, all of the financial trauma and the homelessness and all of the drama that I went through, it wasn't necessarily because I was being reckless or I was being irresponsible. It was because later, I didn't realize that though. Later, those were going to be the very people that I was ordained to come and help.
mm.
And so it made it so that I went through it so that I would be able to be more relatable to them and have more compassion and actually see where we have breaks in the system that don't support us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know it if I wouldn't have gone through it.
Mm-mm. No, I get that. I think that
Hmm.
that is, I'm going to say something like very like, I believe this, but I think there is a fundamental truth in that, there's so many times we as humans, we're going through something so that our level of understanding, compassion, empathy, wisdom around something is so much more developed because
Right.
that's actually what we're here to heal in ourselves, but it's also to then share that healing with other people.
Right, right. I
Yeah.
totally agree. And for me, it's paying attention to the things that keep happening.
Mm,
And it typically is very close to on the flip side of what you're passionate about. And so for me, I kept ending up in this cycle of financial trauma. Like I said, a lot of it wasn't because of recklessness or me being irresponsible. And so it just didn't make sense. But then on the other flip
interesting.
side of that is I love teaching. I love helping people. I mean, at my brokest, I was still trying to help people in
Mm.
charging up credit cards, acting like everything's okay to help people. And so then go figure that I've put those two together. I figured out one, which has allowed me to address the other.
That's incredible. I was reading, like just reading up on you and your story, just to get ready to talk to you today. It's one of the reasons I'm like bouncing out of my seat. But I think you said there was one point you were $500,000 in debt. Did I read that correctly?
Okay, so I was asked this question just the other day. I should have clarified more. Yes
Good.
and no.
Okay.
Yes and
Okay.
no. What I did was over the years, whenever I was going through something, of course, I could only focus on what was going to keep me alive. So that was, housing, food,
Mm,
transportation, utilities. And so credit cards and other things like that, past debt, always just got put to the side. But then at the end of all of that, I opened up years of unopened mail and things that had already been deleted off of my credit report from the statute of limitations. And as I added up the debt that I had accumulated over 21 years, it came to 500. It was actually like $502,000 is some change
wow.
and blew my mind. But I
Right.
made a spreadsheet. I called everyone, got laughed off of the phone with over half of the individuals because they were like, we wrote this off as a bad debt in the 90s. I
They're
was
like,
like,
you're awfully honest, but we're
well,
good.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you did, but I never meant to not pay you. Like I just could not pay you then. And I'm calling now to see if we can work something out. I want to pay you. But
Wow.
what I actually ended up paying was just over a little bit over $100,000. But the
Wow.
accumulation of that, yes, was $500,000.
Isn't that amazing? And I really want to highlight what you're saying that I think is so important is that I'm going to assert something. I don't know, but I would
Okay.
bet you weren't buying Ferraris
No,
or $40,000 handbags.
no,
I would assume that was this just being alive? I want to understand more because I know there's people listening who are like, "Oh dear God, this debt is never going to go away. I don't even know how this
right.
happened." And I think when we share these stories, it's so important and it has people see one, it can happen to anyone,
Hmm.
right? And two, there's rarely a big bad who's out there being like, "I just want to be reckless." That's
Right.
not how most humans go through life. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there was some school loan debt, and then there was debt from, I mean, I did experience 5 evictions. And so there was, they expect you to still pay that rent, where, okay, yeah, they're justified in that you did owe it still. I did experience the 4 repossessions. And so it was debt from that. But then the credit card debt, because I've never really been a big shopper, but I've spent money on then and still now. It's just now I can afford it more. But then was image, because it was all about, I had no self image. I had very low self esteem,
Yeah.
low self worth. That's the word that I was thinking about. And I never felt like I belonged and like I was accepted. And so, because I could not, I worked very hard to change the things that I could control. And so that made me addicted to self care. And so I was constantly getting facials and getting my hair done and getting my nails done. I didn't really buy that many clothes. I mean, I bought clothes when you should, you're going to an event or something like that, but I was not just running through the mall shopping for clothes or accessories or anything like that. It really was a self-care, and it was food, like outings, things like that. I wasn't traveling. So, and to me, on all those things that were self-care related, I honestly felt like they were justified. I felt like
Mhm.
they were necessary. And so I remember that there was a point and I was just like, I mean, how come my income does not match what I feel like I'm supposed to have? Like, I mean,
I love that.
how dare you?
Yeah.
I have to have a facial. Like, this is very
Hilarious.
important.
Yeah.
But, and so that's where most of majority of the credit card debt came from, which, I mean, when I think about that, I'm actually proud that it didn't come from a bunch of shopping and trips and things like that. I mean, like, is there one worse than another? I don't know. But
That's actually
that
a
that
really good
tells me,
question.
to me, it
Yeah.
felt like that's what justified me feeling like it wasn't reckless. I mean, I was spending money that
Interesting.
I didn't have, of
Hmm.
course, which is reckless, but I felt like it was justified because I felt like it was necessary.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. But it doesn't, I really appreciate what you just said because I don't think it does matter as much what it was spent on.
Right. It doesn't matter.
It's really the stories that we tell ourselves while we're spending money we don't have.
Hmm.
Right. I
Hmm.
mean, that is true. It doesn't matter. It's like,
Right.
it's the story around it that I think is so fascinating. And I kind of want to dive into, I don't want to take us too far off all of the money because it's so important, but
Yeah.
I have really started to understand, I think, in the last 10 years, the more I talk to women about money and abundance and starting businesses and paying themselves in these businesses,
Right.
is that low self-worth
Mm.
is so the cancer of financial wellness, I think. I don't know how else to describe it. So I'm having a hard time finding the words for it, but it's that feeling that it just eats people from the inside out.
Hmm.
And when we're not healthy on the inside, we participate in really unhealthy behavior.
True, true. Mine started at a very early age, and then it just kept getting worse. And so
Mm.
I don't blame, my family or my upbringing, because you're a product of your environment. You don't have to be once you become an adult and you realize the toxicity that may have been apparent in your family as you were growing up. I mean, you had no choice. You were born into a family and you emulate what you're around. But at 4 years old, I was told that I was ugly and that I wasn't
Mm.
accepted and that I didn't belong. And then I had members in my family that actually kind of supported that. It felt like they did. I know my mom loves me. She still does. I mean, she's my best friend. But because she was so busy, I don't think that she realized how it was affecting me growing up. And so that started this behavior at a very early age of like just doing whatever I needed to do to try to find that acceptance and that
Mm.
sense of belonging, which ended up getting me into the financial, debt cycle that I was in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that ache for the outside to fix the inside,
Right,
right? It's
right.
like if I could just, and I think we do it on so many levels, right? If I could just get into this circle of friends, if I could just get
Hmm.
into this job, if I could just get that shirt, I mean, it's so crazy when it's always an inside out job. And I think that's one of the biggest disconnects we have as humans.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate that when I was growing up that social media wasn't out because I feel like it would have been way worse because then there comes that comparison. I mean, it was bad enough without
Yeah.
having it because I was totally comparing myself to other people because I didn't have someone telling me that I was good enough and validating me the way that I needed to be validated. But I have a lot of clients that are influencers, and some of them are walking the walk, and they really are doing as well as they appear to be on social media. They're making
Mhm.
plenty of money. And then other ones, I'm thinking, I know your financials, and okay. But to everyone else, it looks like you're living this millionaire lifestyle. And
Right.
that is so, that whole smoke and mirror thing. I mean, I've seen the decline in lack of self-worth and
Mm,
self-esteem through that. Just, I mean, you see it in teenagers now.
yes.
And, they're thinking that they need certain things, or even with filters on
Oh.
video. And so, you know what you look like in the mirror, but then you're watching social media and you see someone that looks absolutely gorgeous with like perfect skin and perfect teeth, and now you think there's something wrong with you
Right.
because you have no idea that there's a filter on there, and that if you saw them in person, no, they wouldn't look like
That's right. That's
that.
right. Not only would they not look like that, well, whatever. We can get into that whole thing too, right?
Right.
Like the angles, the shading, this stuff. I mean, it's unreal, right? But
Right.
I think it just speaks to so much. I think
Hmm.
we're going to dive into financial literacy now because I think it just speaks so much to how much healing is actually needed in the human
Hmm.
psyche, period.
Yes.
Right. And then we've got this, I call it fake. Don't well, whatever. Hang on to your hats and glasses, people. But I call it fake. We have this fake man made construct called money, just like we have a
Hmm.
fake man made construct called time. I always
Right.
joke around. I was like, I've never seen a squirrel who's late for a meeting, right? Like, this is
Yeah.
all made, it's totally made up. And we're like, oh my God, we're living and dying by it. People get suicidal, as you shared in your story. You're
Hmm.
suicidal over money, which is a man made construct. It's not even really there anymore. We don't even touch it anymore, right? But it
Right.
is so important.
Hmm.
I think it's such a tool for healing. I think it's such an indication the way that we use this tool indicates so much about how we view ourselves and how
Right.
healthy we are internally.
Hmm.
And, I know you really talk about this idea that you had this moment where you really kind of came to understand that financial literacy and like personal development as humans are really tied together. And I'd love to hear
Right.
more about one, how you came to that, and two, what you've seen as you've been sharing and teaching about it.
So there were kind of two moments. The first moment was right before my breakthrough. It was maybe 2, 3 months before my breakthrough.
Mm.
I thought I was dying. And I seriously did. And I just kept telling doctors, I'm like, I just want to know if I'm dying today or tomorrow so that I can prepare for this. Like, I mean, because I'm already broke. So I got dogs. I need to make sure somebody can come and get them.
Why did you think
So
you were dying?
I mean, I just was having the most bizarre symptoms,
Okay.
and that they didn't make sense. I didn't have money for healthcare, and I'm getting denied coverage, and on and on and on. And so, it was then that I'm just like, this is inhumane
Yeah.
that I am working around the clock. I'm working more than 12 hours a day. I'm not by that time I was not spending anything that I didn't have to spend. I mean, if I was splurging, it was on like some $2 chuck wine, literally.
Right.
And
Right.
that was a splurge. And I just was thinking, this is inhumane that I'm working so hard. I cannot pay
Mm.
my bills. And there has to be something to this. Like, why am I in this constant cycle of debt? And then that second aha moment was during my very first 21-day spiritual fast, where, I mean, I was at my rock bottom. I had just experienced my fourth repossession, and my life felt like it was like Groundhog Day, like
Mm.
over and over. I kept experiencing the same things. And I'm thinking, Like, I know why. It's because I didn't pay the bill, but I didn't pay it because I didn't have the money to. And it's not like I didn't want to pay it. I mean, there was
Right.
a situation where I could, back then I drove for a living. And so there was a situation where I could have, my car needed a repair, several repairs. So I could make the car repair, but I couldn't then make the car payment. If I didn't make the car payment, they were going to come get the car. If I didn't make the car
Oh my
repair, I could not
gosh.
drive the car to make
Right.
money to then make the payment.
I got it.
So how do you make that decision? And it was just so frustrating. And
Mm,
that just let me know. And that so that whole time, on top of since 4 years old, living in this kind of like background of not being accepted and no
right.
sense of belonging and low self-esteem. I mean, I thought I was like the ugliest person on the planet.
Mm,
Now here comes you're broke and you're ugly and all of this. And so it just made me spiral into this very, very deep depression. Sometimes it would last longer than others, but I just got to the point I was like, I can't keep going through this, but like, what is this? What, not why is this happening to me, but what is this supposed to teach me? Because I know that everything that we go through will keep cycling itself again until you get it. And then once you get it, you won't have that kind of problem again. I can guarantee that. You'll
mm.
have another kind of problem because we're not going to live without stress. But
Ha! Ah,
but
that is a whole other
you're
ball
not
game.
you're not gonna keep
Ah,
having that particular problem. So after that fourth repossession, I was just like, the only thing I knew how to do was surrender because that's the only thing that I didn't do.
mm,
And I'm reading this book on fasting and all the promises that God should reveal all these different things if you do the ultimate sacrifice and just pray and fast all day. And so I'm like, okay, well, I mean, this is my last chance at trying to figure this out because I can't. And I'm out of answers, I'm out of energy.
right.
That week was really hard because I had had an entire storage unit of furniture auctioned, like thousands of dollars worth of stuff auctioned for $100. But I couldn't worry about that
Right.
because like I'm worried about this repossession that I knew that was coming up, and then like rent was going to be due in like 10 days, and I didn't have that either. So it was just, and that was the same week about that I was denied this health coverage, and I literally thought I was dying. So I mean, I fell
Oh my
underwater,
God.
and I had to sit down. And honestly, that act of sitting down, I mean, I'm a fan of fasting. I still fast several times a year because it gives me so much clarity and understanding and direction, which is what I pray for and what I want for myself every single day. But I'm not saying for everybody to fast. I'm saying for everybody to sit down and be honest with yourself.
Mm,
You know,
mm.
look yourself in the mirror. My favorite quote is by William Shakespeare, to thine own self be true. And we live in this world of everybody saying they're keeping it 100, but I'm like, no, you're not, because how much debt do you have? Do you know
That's
what
right.
the number is? Or, what's your credit score? Do you know what that number is?
Mhm.
So it was that act of sitting down and being honest with myself and really looking at the situation that actually made it come together for me. And I understood and then I got
That, I mean, I love you. There's so much, but you said sit
it.
down,
Sit down.
breathe, sit down. I love that. That is like such a great for anyone listening right now who's overwhelmed. Just remember, whenever you're safe, sit down, like
Sit down.
breathe, like hold
Mhm.
on. I mean, that, Michelle, that is a lot for one human brain to take in at one time. That is a lot.
I'm
Like,
still standing though.
wow, I know. It's like, and ladies and gentlemen, she's here. Like,
Right.
whoa, it's incredible. But my initial question though, when you said that this is such a mindset shift where this keeps happening, you shifted from why does not like, how does this keep happening to why does this keep happening? How did you know to make that shift? That is humongous.
I don't know how I knew it, honestly.
Interesting.
I've been journaling since I was 12. And then in my 20s, I really got heavy into it. And then I dated someone that was in the book industry. And so then I was like dedicated to journaling every day. And I found that it became an outlet for me.
Mhm.
And so through spiritual study and meditation, I'm going back through my journals and I just saw my questions to myself and to God changing instead of, why am I going through this? to what am I
Pivot.
supposed to be getting? And I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't know what provoked that. I mean, I
Mm.
honestly can't take credit for it. I don't know. Um,
No, I
Something
love
placed
that.
inside of me, but
Yeah.
that really helped me change the way that I started thinking about things. And I still do. Whenever things happen, even stressful things, because life is gonna life no matter what. And I still now will not get stressed out. And instead of saying, like, why is this happening? I'm like, okay, this is happening for a reason. And it's my mission to now find out why.
And
And as soon as you do, then it's over. Like, who cares about what's physically in front of you? Just figure out why.
oh, that's good. Just figure out why.
Hmm.
What is there that you need to learn?
Yeah, because there's something hidden up under that tragedy. I can
Mm,
guarantee it. And it has nothing to do with how it's being presented to you.
there's
So,
just the
you know,
lesson. And
yeah,
it seems that the lesson
like,
hits you hardest when we give it to you this way, you actually pay attention to the lesson. Over
right.
here, not so much. Okay, I got it. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that's
was like the
profound.
money
Mhm.
tragedy in front of me, but the underlying why had so much deeper meaning to it,
Mm,
but they were connected.
right.
Okay, you're in this financial trauma because you're out here searching for acceptance and belonging. But what if you switch your mind and decide that you don't need those people that don't want to accept you? Fine, that's fine. And you're good enough the way that you are. So then you're not spending money to impress those people. And
Oh,
you actually learn money to then help people. And then
so good.
it's just what changed it. It sounds so simple, I know, but it took me
No,
21 years to figure it out.
well, you're lucky. I mean, 21's young to figure that. That is
No,
so
21
profound.
years.
21 years, not at age 21. Got it. So
Yes.
it took you 21 years from like, for like, why, God, what,
Yes.
right? To, oh, there actually is a why, right?
Right.
Oh, so good. Okay. So I think with that very simple shift, I think that is so profound. I'm going to repeat it again because I want people to get it. It's what is there for me to learn? Why is this actually happening? What is the lesson here underneath? That is
Right.
just, and you really said something clear, which is once you figure that out, it's over.
You're done.
I love
You're
it.
done with it. If you, I mean, and this applies to everything, you know, if you keep dating, unfortunately, the wrong kind of person because
Right.
they all have similarities, okay, what is this supposed to be teaching you? Because
Mm,
there is something in you that's attracting them that
right.
is not healed in you. And so you're attracting that same type of person.
Mm.
And the moment that you figure out like what that is to heal that, then you want to attract that kind of person. I mean, it applies to every single topic. So, I mean,
Oh, that's good.
money, relationships, family, everything.
Mm, so good. Okay. Okay. So that was takeaway number one through a million. That was huge. And now let you are here. You're like, okay, I'm here to learn this. I'm going to learn money. What did you start to do, or what do you feel like were like the first couple steps you took to really start to learn money and understand this is a learnable thing? This isn't
Right.
that mysterious. Like, what do I do with this? How did you get started with that, Michelle?
So I've been learning money my whole life, honestly.
Mm,
And I started my first business when I was 21. And so I self taught myself accounting and finance and taxation and everything. So I've always known, I just wasn't applying it.
got it.
But at the phase where I was like, okay, we got to do something about it, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you already know what to do. But for me, it was, I wasn't applying what I already knew because I felt like I didn't have enough money to. I thought that you had to be at a certain point
Got it.
to then get started instead of just starting from where you are. And that's a huge misconception. You
Hmm.
know, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I can't invest because I don't have enough money to invest. You can start today and invest $10. Yes, you can in cryptocurrency or something.
Hmm.
So you can. So it was just taking what I already knew and applying it. And then I had a really good friend, dear friend, that she said, well, why don't we go and work in finance seasonally? You know, we both have a ton of math experience. She teaches gifted high school students math. And I had gone to school pre med and athletic training. And then by my senior year, I had to drop out because of money, and then went back to school for engineering. And by my senior year, I had to drop out again because of money. But I've
Oh,
taken almost every math class known to man. And so when I looked into actually, yes, working in finance, I was shocked that I even got the position because I'm like, well, I didn't have a degree and I didn't feel like I had experience, but I had self-experience enough to at least pass the test. But then I started getting certifications. I started attending webinars. I mean, anything that had to do with any area of finance, whether it was investing or retirement or tax or accounting. I mean, I was there and I was tuned in and I was earning different credentials. And
It's
I
amazing.
found that because I have a learning disability, I have dyslexia, I learned differently, but that actually became valuable because then all of those complexities that most individuals think are so hard to comprehend, I understand it differently. So I could explain it differently. And then that showed me that, oh, you have a gift to actually teach this and help empower other people through this. Because I mean, seriously, go to irs.gov
No,
and
thank
read
you.
just one publication. And
No,
by the
thank you.
second sentence, you're like, what?
No,
What?
thank you, please. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. So you really did, when you say you look back on your life and you saw that everything was actually a gift coming
Mhm.
together to help you
Yeah.
create this, you weren't kidding. Like even dyslexia coming in and it's like, ah, ha,
Everything.
ha. Yes. But because of that gift, my brain approaches this differently so I can teach it in a
Right.
way that more people can understand. It's gorgeous.
Right.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Every single thing gave me something
Mhm.
that now I'm all using because I'm combining them all together. Everything gave it, and that applies to everybody. I'm not anybody special, and I'm not just individualized. I mean, that's everybody here on this earth. I mean, whatever it is that you've gone through, your past has everything to do with your purpose. And if you
Agreed.
put all of your tools and skills and knowledge and experiences together, that will tell you exactly what you need to be doing.
Mm, so true. So true. I
It
love
is.
that. It is. It just sit down, right? Because
Yeah,
so
sit
often
down
we're
and think
so
about it. Yeah,
busy.
just sit
Yeah, we're
down.
like running around trying to survive. We don't actually sit down and
Mhm.
look back and try to piece it together and figure it out. Like
Right.
what is all this for me? It's
Right. Just
gorgeous.
really think about it. And I see apps. I laugh all the time
Mm.
because I mean, I have all these fitness apps. I'm like go gadget with all the fitness apps. And my water bottle lights up and tells me to drink. I got the Fitbit on and got this thing telling me to go to sleep and when to wake up. And but everything has a mindfulness time on there
Mm.
that I used to ignore. I mean, we feel like, oh, I'm too busy to sit down for 3 minutes. I mean, sit down for 3 minutes and just think about it. But for me, like I said, it was the act of just sitting down and writing things out. I started thinking about, okay, what was the first event that led me here? Maybe. And
Mm.
as I started writing things down, that's how I discovered it was 21 years. And I discovered this during a 21-day fast. I mean, it just blew my mind. That's what
I
made me
mean,
want to write about it because I'm like, this didn't just happen just to happen. Like, this was purpose for this moment. It couldn't
yeah.
happen next year because then it'd be 22 years. That wouldn't make sense. So,
I love the way that you describe that too. And like it's in your writing is like it was
yeah,
a day for every year that I needed to clean up. And it was like,
yeah,
wow, that's amazing how that happened. And I know
yeah.
you said you were reading about fasting, but I do have to
Mhm.
dive in because I know people are wondering like, how did you get into reading, even reading about fasting? Like, what was it about fasting that sort of called to you? I'm an intermittent faster and I'll do like 3-day fast once a quarter, that kind of, I love fasting too. So I'm curious to know, just as a human, how did you get into that? And what happens to a human being in a 21-day fast?
Okay. So 5 years before this major breakthrough that I had lost a home that I loved, and I had been evicted several times, but that time I considered myself seriously homeless because I had nowhere to go. And so it started me, I off and on would be on this spiritual path. And so I'd wake up and I'd pray and I'd read my Bible, and then something would happen, and then that wouldn't be my routine anymore. At that point, though, this was like an everyday practice because I'm remembering how the Bible says that God is supposed to take care of you and protect you and lead you down, show you your path. And I desperately just needed something. And so as things kept getting worse
Mm,
from that 5 year point, I mean, I felt like I'm doing everything that the Bible and the church asks you to do. I'm trying to tithe when I can't tithe. I was religiously volunteering. I am meditating, I'm praying for my enemies. I no longer was mad at anybody anymore and actually had a lot of compassion for them and was grateful for how they showed up in my life because it taught me things. But so fasting kept coming up. And I heard it somewhere. I couldn't remember where I heard it, but that God expects all of us to fast because in the Bible it says when you fast, not if.
Oh,
And I was
interesting.
under the assumption that, oh, the only people that need to fast are like pastors and priests and on and on. So I had asked about, so what's the best spiritual fasting book? And one was recommended to me. A dear friend of mine bought it for me, but I hadn't made time to read it or anything. But at that moment, I sat down and I read it cover to cover and then immediately started putting all my freshly bought groceries in the freezer so that I wouldn't cheat because you can't eat. So there's different types of spiritual fast. The one that I decided to go on just eliminated food, period, for 21 days. So I could have water, I could have juice, I could have herbal tea, I could have bone broth.
Oof.
Drank a lot of bone broth.
I
And
bet.
I'm not, it was is the hardest thing that I've ever done. I still fast several times a year and it's still hard.
You still do 21 days or
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I always
Wow.
do one in January because it's the beginning of the year and I want to set the right intention. And then
Mm,
I always do one around my personal new year, like around my birthday. And then I try to do another one, maybe two. In a great year, I can get four in, but usually three in a year. But I come out so much more clear and just, it settles me. It gets rid of any anxiety, any questions. Usually when I feel stuck is when I know I need to fast. Like it's time to sit down and take some time out and drink your juice, drink your tea, journal, think about what's going on, what you
mm.
want to do. So, but yeah, started that fast. And the
Wow.
first 13 days were so powerful. Each day, there was something revealed to me supernaturally that just made sense and
Mm,
told me why I was going through everything, like why everything happened. It was putting those puzzle pieces together. And
got it.
so it was the combination of praying for that clarity, journaling about it, just thinking about it, sitting in thought, and not having the food as a distraction, phone as a distraction, television as a distraction. I wasn't watching television or anything like really,
Mhm.
and I couldn't go anywhere. My car had just gotten repossessed.
I feel
I,
like this was a very still fast, right? Yeah.
I had to be at home anyway. I mean, I might as well do something productive. But
Uh,
every day just something happened and then things just automatically started putting themselves in place, like a credit card extended my credit limit and then I got approved for another line of credit that I didn't know how I got approved for,
mm,
and then a utility bill somehow recalculated my bill and I had a credit so then I didn't have a bill due.
wow.
And I mean just things started happening
Yeah.
supernaturally,
Mhm.
and that just let me know that, okay, this was exactly what I was supposed to do. I was so much more clear headed about what the journey was, what the purpose was, what the
Mhm.
mission was. And so then I knew what to pursue instead of like chasing different things. And then things just started working themselves out.
It's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, listen, like I said, I can only do 3 days, Michelle, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, but I will tell you, even in those 3 days, I really want to echo what you're saying because I do water only fast, which is why they're shorter.
Oh,
But I am blown away. And I don't want to be some fasting advocate. That's not it. But I'm really blown away by how different I feel, how much
mhm.
easier it is to work, how much more clarity I have. Like there's no brain fog, which you think it doesn't make sense, right? It's like, what?
Right.
Yeah, but it's this really amazing thing. And I've been just learning so much about it. I was so intrigued when I saw that that's really sort of what kind of gave you a pop and
Mhm.
trajectory of like, wait a second, something else is happening here. And sort of eliminating literally like the day to day that we can get so lost in,
Right, right.
you
And I
know?
had tried before that, I had tried several times. And
Okay.
I remember like the first five times I couldn't even get to 24 hours. Like I was looking at my clock like five, four, three, two, one,
Like,
like
that's a
holding
wrap.
food,
Yeah.
like holding food, like, okay, at least I did 24 hours. But
It's no joke, man. Yeah. And
yeah,
you
yeah.
get
But I
bored
mean,
too. You realize how
well,
much time we spend on food. It's amazing. Yeah.
right. But I mean, I just found that I mean your mind has to be in the right place. You're supposed to prepare your body. I never do for any fast because I just decide that I feel like fasting. I'm going to start on this day and then I just choose a day and I know that you're supposed to decrease your food and not eat fats and dairy and things like that leading up to it. I never do that. But it was more about a mindset. And I
Yeah.
think that what worked for me for that very first 20, because I went from not being able to fast for 24 hours
That's
to
what I
just
mean.
cold turkey going on but I felt like it was do or die. I felt like if I don't do this,
Mm,
then I mean, my life is just going to get worse. And then I felt like, if I do it and it doesn't work or I don't get any guidance from above, then at least I can cross it off the list of I've done everything that I know possible. So, I
yeah.
mean, for me, it was survival. Like I had that I didn't even want to eat. That wasn't a temptation. I was hungry. I was very hungry, but I did not dare eat. Like that was I was like it was too important. And even after I was able to recover a car, that was after day 13, I think I was able to I found a way to get another car, which was actually a better situation because it was a newer car and I just had, so then you're not having the repairs and it
Right.
was lower than what I was paying before. Like it just worked out. But even being out in the world, I was so scared because, there's food all around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but no, I mean, you've gone this far. You only have, 7 more days, 6 more
Yeah.
days, five
Yeah.
more days.
That's
Yeah, but it was
incredible.
it was more of a mindset and it felt like survival. It felt like if I didn't do it, my life was only going to get worse.
Well, I mean, you were kind of in a dramatic situation, and I
Yeah.
think you were like, I'm looking for a dramatic solution, and let's freaking go.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing's getting in the way.
This is the
And
only thing that I hadn't tried. Let's try this.
oh, I love it. I love it. But it's also the power of our minds, right? Like, oh
Right.
my God. I mean, what an incredible example of what happens when we set our minds to something.
Right.
It's like, don't mess with me. We're talking food, people. We are talking, I'm not eating, like, wow, right?
And I
Because
love
I'm looking
food.
for a solution, right? Who doesn't, man? Food's the best. But I
Yeah.
mean, but looking for a solution and that you became single-minded about that and so focused.
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
incredible. It's just incredible. Okay. So now we've got the answers. You're starting to evolve into this incredible mission, right? You're like
Right.
expanding yourself into this mission. I know that there's two things I really want to touch on with you. I think this is so important for us to understand as people, just as people sharing this planet with other people in different situations. First question is, what happens to somebody's psyche? Like what happens to a human who is experiencing homelessness? Like, what happens in those moments and the stories that they tell, and how do we support our fellow humans who are going through something like that?
For me, there are so many things that happen. I mean, one, you feel alone. What I
Mm,
can say in every different type of traumatic situation that I experienced is I felt like I was the only person in the world that was going through it. I mean, I know that I saw other people sleeping under bridges, but for my, I don't know if demographic is the correct word, but I'm working and I still can't pay bills and I have nowhere to live, so I'm homeless too. I felt like I was the only one going through it. So
mm,
I felt alone. I was extremely depressed. And then you start blaming yourself
right.
because you feel like it's your fault. And yeah, I mean, you do have some skin in the game I mean, that got you there. But still, I think that some of it was honestly societal. There
Mhm.
should be more resources out there for working Americans that aren't what is referred to as the most vulnerable. I
Mhm.
mean, my heart goes out to the individuals that are vets and Social Security age and that are sick and that have addictions and that have children, but everybody needs help.
Mhm.
So, to
Mhm.
me, everybody, there is no most vulnerable. we're all, on the same
Well,
playing field.
it's an illusion that anybody isn't vulnerable, right?
Right,
Like, I mean,
right.
that's an illusion. We're all in this boat together. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the combination of all of that just put me in like the deepest, scariest place, the darkest times that I've ever had, complete hopelessness. I was suicidal a few times.
I can imagine. Yeah.
But I think that there was a point where I said I wanted to die, but I was too broke to die.
Jeez.
I can laugh about it now, but
But
the
at the
reality is
time, yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
reality is that I eventually ended up going to stay like in this weekly motel, like where you can pay for the week. I never had money to pay like the $400 for the week. So I was getting up, every morning trying to go down there and count out my money for the night. And
Wow.
so I needed, like I couldn't afford to die because I needed the money to be able to stay there for one more night. I
Oh
had
my
to go out
God,
and make it.
Marcel. Oh my gosh. When you talk about this now, does it feel like it was someone else's life or does it still really
Yes.
feel like it was you?
No, I mean, that entire time, and I
Yeah.
constantly said that. I was like, I know that this is my life, but I
Yeah.
know that this is not my life. This is
Right.
not who I'm destined. This is not the life that I'm supposed to have. I know it's not. It just
Yeah.
did not make sense at all.
Yeah.
I knew I was supposed to be doing something else. I knew I was destined for greatness in some way. I knew that I knew a ton of stuff, had a ton of experiences. And so why is my life like this? I knew it. And so it felt very foreign. Like I was just going through the motions. And so I'm waiting for it to change and stuff just kept getting worse. And so it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I could get that. I
when
can get,
yeah,
especially because
I
you can
was
feel your drive, your power. You can feel it just in talking to you. It's like, what you must have been like, what is what?
I was going nuts.
Yeah.
It was like I was
Yeah.
having a out of body experience all the
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
because it just did not match who I knew I was.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
nothing matched. I'm just like, I'm, not to, but I'm thinking I've got, all this college education and I started my own business. And,
Like,
why am I
do you
of all
know who
people like
I am?
like
Like,
this? Like this is not my life. Like this
yeah.
is somebody that did nothing but lay on the couch and play video games all day. And now they're wondering why their life is upside down.
Oh my gosh.
This is not me. But
Oh
yeah,
my
so I
gosh.
mean that made it so much harder. And then I feel like you're
Hmm.
not supported in it because of that group of the most targeted individuals where you get just overlooked. And so I didn't need, there was one time that I went and applied for rental assistance and they told me that I needed to move because my rent was too expensive. And I'm thinking, because if I'm about to get evicted and I don't have rent, how am I going to move?
Right. Are
And
you
so they weren't going to help me because my rent was too expensive. I didn't need utility assistance because I didn't have an apartment anymore. I applied
mm,
for food stamps or EBT, but I got denied, gosh, for like several several rounds. I should go back and count them to be accurate. But months and months, probably like at least 6 months,
oh
got denied,
gosh.
denied, denied, denied. Finally got approved for $16 a month. Couldn't get any health benefits because they said that I didn't have any immediate health need and that I didn't have any children. And so, and I'm hearing this and I'm thinking, so what happens to even a married couple
Right.
that has kids and that someone lost their job, someone got sick, the house
The
burned
kids
down,
got sick. Like pick a
the
thing,
house burned down,
right?
something.
Yeah.
So you deny these people, you deny me, and so I mean, that's what just gave me the mind that I have to get out there and do something about this. I don't think that a lot of people think about it. And it
Right.
almost turns us into the haves and the have nots, where, oh, if you need assistance, it's because you're lazy and
Right.
you're not motivated and you screwed up and
I'm not
you're
paying
gonna
for
live off
you. And
right and
yeah.
you're gonna live off the government. And then
Right.
there's the other end where you don't see it because you've never been there. You've never been that destitute. So it's like you're blinded to it. But
Mhm.
that group in the middle, there's a lot of us that, you might only need help for like a couple months,
Right. And that's
but
actually,
it's
isn't
not
that like one of the most valuable places to actually put those resources to get people
right,
back
right,
in
right.
into
Because
the
those
world?
people
Yeah.
can get out there, like they just need to be able to get on their feet. But
Right.
it's like that whole demographic is overlooked.
Mm,
That entire demographic is overlooked. I experienced it firsthand. I'm
yeah.
happy I did because that brought me to where I am now,
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm saying, where everything that I went through, it was purpose for me to go through what I was supposed
Mhm.
to bring me to this point. But I mean, that just saddened me beyond. I used to volunteer at a homeless shelter and cook dinner for over 100 women once a week.
Mm.
And I became jealous of them because they were living better than me.
Right.
At
Because they
Christmas,
fit that qualification, not this
yeah.
qualification, but this
Well,
yeah.
I couldn't move into a
Yeah.
homeless shelter because I didn't have kids and I had
Mm.
dogs. So, and I wasn't gonna get, I mean, my dogs were the reason why I stayed alive. Otherwise, like I would have been like, deuces.
No, we love those guys, right? They are like
Yeah, no,
pure
they seriously kept me
oh.
alive because
Yeah.
I needed to take care of them. But yeah, I saw homeless people like living better than me and like became a little bit resentful. Like, well, how are you,
Yeah.
there is to me, it's like a forgotten demographic and it's not okay.
No,
Um,
it's absolutely not okay. And but I want to talk about this because I know you do a lot of work in social justice too.
mhm.
And financial literacy is not a part of the training a lot of the times when we talk about social justice, we don't talk about financial literacy. Can you speak to that and what it is you want to make a difference in doing and how you're supporting that?
Yeah, I think that we don't speak about it because it's so faux pas. We don't talk about money openly. No one does. The people that do don't have it. If you're sitting around talking about how many millions you have in your account, like, but we don't talk about what's your credit score? How much
Mm-hmm.
debt do you have? We don't talk about it. And so it kind of, I don't think that anybody has really pinpointed that financial literacy is the foundation to being stable overall in life.
Mm.
If you don't have enough money to pay your bills, you're not emotionally stable, you're not physically stable, you're not environmentally stable. And so your foundation is messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about having more money. It's about being literate in finance enough to realize that, how do I want to say that? It's not about having more money, because more money without knowing,
How to deal with
learning
it.
about your
Yeah.
connection, that's what it is, your connection to money, like your
Okay.
relationship with money. That was like a huge thing for me. And I was able to relate it to, oh, mine was related to acceptance and belonging, my relationship with money
Got
that
it.
got me in
Yes,
trouble.
that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
understanding your relationship with money then puts you on the path to become more financially literate, because whether you have $10,000 or $100 million, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose it.
Yep.
But first, it's all about your relationship with it, how you view it and how you spend it, what you seek it for, what you want it for. But then it's learning all those other things, the technicalities, how to grow it,
Mm-hmm.
what interest is, how to invest, all the different investment instruments. So all of those go together. But for me, that is the foundation, because this world, you got to have money. None of us are living off of tree leaves or air. You
Except
got
when
to
we're
have
fasting. But yeah, no, it's true. It's true. We must know. I say frequently it's the most powerful tool we have access to right
money.
now. And we may not love that as a fact, but it is still a fact right now. It's the
Hmm.
most powerful tool we all have access to. And we work with it every single day. And,
Right.
Michelle, you're just bringing up so much for me right now. I have a group of 5 of us that are such close friends.
Hmm.
And just recently, because, I'm the money lady, right? And I was like, I just love talking about money. And I said, you guys, you know what? We need to knock this off. I said, the 5 of us are going to start talking about money. And they all got excited. And I was like, nope, we need to know each other's credit scores. We should talk about how
Right.
much we're saving. We should talk about our mortgage interest rates. We should talk. And they all, to their credit, my amazing girlfriends, jumped in on this. And we
Good.
just started talking, and we were talking about our relationship to money. And I realized my relationship now, it went from sorrow, like it was like
Hmm.
money always calls. So now it's just like a source of just absolute joy all the time.
Hmm.
And I am not a bazillionaire, people. Let's just be honest about that, right? But just this idea that knowing how to use it well. And by the way,
Right.
that to me means spending it sometimes. Like I love,
Right.
love beautiful things, or I love to go, took my daughter to Disney World. That's not
Hmm.
inexpensive, right? Loved it, loved every minute of it, right? So, but just that joy that can come from understanding how it works. And I really want to
Right.
underscore what you said at the very beginning. You can start investing with $10. It's
You
about
can.
starting where you are. There's nothing
Hmm.
to wait for. There's
Right.
nothing to wait for at all. And
Right.
I think that's so critical for people to understand.
And hats off to you. I've been saying this for years, that the thing that we don't talk about is what connects us ultimately. So, and no one's talking about money and no one's talking about their trauma, but first, no one's talking about money.
Yep.
And, I'm like challenging everybody, with a close friend or a family member, what's your credit score? Because just get rid of the fear, get rid of the judgment, get rid of the assumptions, get rid of all of that. Because what you'll find is that there are other people that probably you can relate to more, because
Yes.
you might be in the same situation.
Yep.
Just because it glitters on the outside doesn't mean it's gold in the middle. And
Speak on it.
so,
Speak
if
on it.
if
Yeah.
if my life looks great because you're looking at my house and you're looking at my car and you're looking at my clothes and my mani petty, but then we look at the credit,
Not so
you know,
pretty. Yeah, I
or
know. And I think it's, the other thing we were saying, Michelle, I'm like, we're talking about, excuse me very much. We're talking about going through menopause. We're talking about how we work out, all the things you
mhm,
said about sleeping, not sleeping. What
right,
supplements are we taking? What food are we eating? And we're not going to talk about money?
money. Hmm.
What? And it just sort of clicked in. I think that's another reason I was so excited to talk to you today, because I think us turning this into a conversation women just have,
Hmm.
by the way, is so critical, and it takes the morality out of it.
Right.
Right. I think one of the reasons people don't want to share credit scores is because it means they're bad. It's like, what?
No.
When it's like intentionally left out of the conversation, they're not teaching people how to manage money in kindergarten, though they could, because it's not
Right.
like the math is that hard, like honestly.
Hmm.
And we're not. And then we get upset that somehow we didn't figure it out on our own when there are traps set up everywhere to make sure we stay in debt and we don't succeed. It's like,
Right.
no, 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 we need to talk about it because the people out there that are setting the traps aren't going to help us figure it out. They don't want us to figure it out. We need to support each other in figuring it out and doing things like creating social systems that actually support the people who could be any one of us any day
Right.
at any time, who are falling through the cracks
Right.
and they're not in such dire straits they can be helped, apparently. Like, what is that about? And let's talk about that and how we
Hmm.
can start to affect that. I just so love your work. I really, really love your
Thank
work.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, those conversations are important. I mean, it's the difference in if you have a conversation about money, then someone would feel more comfortable saying, you know what, I can't go to lunch today because I don't have enough money or my account's overdrafted or I have a big bill coming up or something like that, instead of feeling embarrassed about it, maxing out a credit card to keep up and appear
Yes.
like everything's okay.
And in
Or,
fact, everyone else will back them up and be like, well, then we're not doing that because we're
yeah,
supporting
yeah.
you in this, right? Yeah.
Or
Totally different.
let's stay at home and,
Yep.
make our own snacks or something,
Hmm.
which is just as fun. I actually prefer
I do
that.
too. Yeah, I
To
love it.
stay at home.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. Oh my gosh. Well, Michelle, I could talk to you all day. I do want to touch on quickly before we go. Can you let people know a little bit more about your book? I really want to talk about your book and what's in
Absolutely.
it and how you came up with the
Absolutely.
title. So good.
I didn't come up with the title, by the way. So, quick on that. I initially titled the book 21 Years of Suffering in Silence. And for me, it was
Mm,
the story of all of that trauma that I experienced over 21 years and it coming together and giving me clarity and understanding over my first 21-day fast.
mm,
But then my publishing team encouraged me to change the title and they came up with Bluebird based off of the Charles Bukowski poem and something that my mom said to me that's in the book when she dropped me off at college. When she took me to school, I went to school in South Dakota. I was one of two African American females on the campus, which that didn't bother me. I was fine. I wasn't worried about that. But I said, how come everybody keeps looking at me?
mm,
And she's like, sometimes you look out the window and you see a bird and you don't really pay attention to it because it's just a bird. But the day that you see a bluebird, you look at it a little longer and admire it, not because you don't like it, but because it's unusual and not something that you see all the time.
mm,
You're the bluebird on campus. And when I thought about that, I've been the bluebird my whole life. I've always been that odd person in every single situation, in every crowd, in every environment. And I finally embraced that. Coincidentally, I was going to write a book about my early years and I was going to title it Bluebird for that reason. So now I have to come up with a different title for that. But so Bluebird is
mm.
just that. It starts out with 5 evictions, 4 repossessions, 3 bankruptcies, a sexual assault, 2 abortions, and $500,000 in debt. And I
Oh,
wrote it almost verbatim from 21 years of journal entries. And so these are things that I was going to take to the grave. I didn't want anybody to know, but
mm,
it set me free. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to go out and shout all their business from the rooftops. It just ended up setting me free. But it's mainly because I want it to be as transparent as possible,
mhm,
because I want to start a movement of just being honest. Everybody's saying they're keeping it 100, but people aren't. And so, no, you don't need to go and tell all your business, but to thine own self be true. You do need to take self responsibility for
mm,
the things that have happened to you
mm.
and just be honest about them because that is what sets you free and that is what leads you to your purpose life.
Oh, I love it. And it's so true. I love it. I
It
love that
is.
story that your mom told you that. That made me so, I was like, way to go,
She doesn't
mom.
even remember it, which
Of
is even
course.
funnier.
Of course not, right? Isn't that like the things that change our lives? And someone's like, really? I said that? So good. So good. You guys, we're
Yeah.
going to have links to her book underneath this video if you're watching on YouTube, and they will be in the show notes if you are listening in. Michelle, thank you so much for this incredible conversation and for being brave enough to share your story, but also encouraging others to do the same. We can lift all these veils of ignorance and start to
Right.
look at life from a different angle. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.